Ladies, gentlemen, and haradrim of all ages, Diablo 4 has had a pretty hefty amount of new content added into the game, both with Season 6, but more notably also with the Vessel of Hatred expansion itself. Whether you have the expansion or not though, there are a ton of new items that were added in with the season-changing update, from things like new uniques or legendary aspects for each class, all the way to new additions to the Mythic unique roster. Mythic uniques started off extremely rare at base game launch, and have become progressively more approachable each season, with both new ways to actually farm them in a targetable way, and also just higher and higher drop rates each season. The farm methods become more efficient every time that they update this, and they become a lot faster to get as well as a result of this. All of this has accumulated in just mythic uniques being pretty common in the proper deep endgame among most players. They are dropping relatively frequently, even on Torment 3, to the point that most players who actually put some time into farming bosses with a purpose are likely to end up with at least a couple of mythics over the course of a season. That said, there are a few new mythic uniques that were actually added to the game with Season 6, and today we're going to focus on one specific one in particular, the Heir of Perdition helmet. This helmet has become very quickly best in slot for quite a number of different builds in the game the moment that it was added. There are a few reasons at the source of it, so let's break it down. The first is the unique effect of this item itself, which, while quite wordy, essentially just amounts to increasing all damage that you do from any source by 60%. This is really important because the other two mythic unique helmets are also quite good in their own right, and were already considered some of the best items in the game depending on your class, and Dariel's Visage was definitely a bit more niche, only a couple of classes really used it, only really working with specific setups within them as well. But Harlequin's crest has always just been a really god tier item, both for the affixes on it and the actual unique effect of a bunch of bonus ranks to all skills, and also 20% damage reduction on top of that just for free as well. Not to mention the incredibly high potential cooldown reduction affix, higher than any other place that it can roll, with also the potential for greater affixes and masterworking after those systems were added in too, so this helmet actually became even more powerful over time, as hard as that is to believe really. And yet the main source of its actual damage bonus for builds is the +4 to all skill ranks. However, there are plenty of builds and playstyles in the game that function off of damage that is not related to skills. Things like victimized rogue builds, which proc lucky hits and do damage based off of that, so it isn't technically a skill that does the damage, or something like splintering energy sorcerers, which don't rely on an actual skill to do the damage again, but it is instead a sub-power doing the damage, or even evade build for the Spiritborn, for which the damage comes from a Spirit Hall effect, which is a class mechanic which is unaffected by skill ranks entirely. For all of these types of build archetypes, the 60% straight up damage multiplier is simply better than the other mythic unique helmets. Not to mention that the affixes on the item itself are also quite tasty for a lot of builds. It has bonus core skill ranks, which even makes it even out or possibly even surpass the harlequin crest after greater affixes and masterworking procs, even for skill-based builds, if their damage is from core skill specifically, because if you get a greater affix on that, you get the actual skill rank bonuses too from the masterworking, then it will surpass the amount of skill ranks that then you get from the harlequin crest, specifically just for core skills, of course. Not to mention that it then comes with a ton of lucky hit chance, which is good for a number of builds for a lot of reasons, a massive amount of crit chance if you are a build that likes crit chance, then that also fits into one of these archetypes, then you'll get a lot from that stat even in by itself from the helmet too, because it's 20% base and of course again increasable with greater affixes or masterworking. The bonus movement speed on this helmet as well is just sort of generally useful, that's not the biggest deal. Overall, this simply falls into a sort of perfect spot where you would want a mythic unique to be, where it is best in slot for a number of different builds for different classes as well, not even just one, but it's not so overwhelmingly powerful that it is the only helmet worth using in the whole game. The implicit affix is also quite interesting, plus 200% damage to angels and demons. Right now there are no angel enemies in the game, which does make this an interesting inclusion to the item text, but the bonus demon damage on it actually does come into play quite a fair amount in a lot of places within the game, especially things like infernal hordes, because obviously everything in there is demons. So 200% additive damage in those situations is far from a negligible amount of power gain, especially just as a bonus on a helmet slot too, which don't normally get, impactful implicit effects. So this is quite good, even though it is a little bit niche and when it will actually pop up. I've also gotten one of these myself this season, of course, and I've used it quite a ton in my evade build for Spiritborn, which is a lot of fun, and it helped push it up to the next level of power in quite a noticeable way very quickly. I got my Helm of Perdition through crafting, specifically crafting the Mythic Unique, which isn't too bad to do this season either if you are willing to do a little bit of farming and of course also a little bit of trading. Crafting a specific Mythic Unique now in Season 6 requires that you have 2 Resplendent sparks, and you can get these either by salvaging other mythic uniques if you get ones that you don't think you're going to use, or ones that you just want less than this, or specifically as one-time drops, singular drops from the final season journey cache, and supposedly killing Lilith on any Torment tier the first time this season. However, myself and many other people have done this and killed Lilith and not had their resplendent spark drop. This is confirmed to be a bug, the devs have talked about this on various occasions, and this will be being fixed and retroactively given to players who have completed it in the upcoming 2.0.3 client patch, which is likely to hit the game later this week. Aside from resplendent sparks then, you do need a few other items as well, specifically 18 runes, specifically 18 specific runes. 6 of the legendary Jaw rune, which is the Sorcerer teleport rune, 6 of the Q rune, which is Druid's Earthen Bulwark, and then finally 6 of the Gar rune, which is the stacking crit chance rune. The best way to get these is either the rune farming tribute for Kurask Undercity, or honestly just doing the lair bosses on repeat, you know, the summonable ladder bosses. These are pretty close to guaranteed to drop 1 rune when you kill them, and they quite often do drop rare and even legendary runes too as a result of this. This makes them a pretty good source for this, a pretty good farm. The third option then is simply trading with other players, as there are tons of people that are more than willing to trade 1 rune for another one of the same rarity, or even just trade their own runes in exchange for gold if you'd rather just give them your gold and get the results. That pretty much does it then, just a sort of review of Heir of Perdition, how good it is, what types of builds that it specifically fits into and boosts, and then how to go about target crafting this item specifically. I hope you've all enjoyed this then, and hopefully it helps you out and lets you know whether or not this item is one that you actually care about getting this season. I mean, if nothing else, I am a really big fan of the actual cosmetic look that it unlocks from salvaging it, so it's worth it for that at the very least if you obviously get a second one. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.